What if I told you that Europe's economy is currently walking a tightrope, balancing between recovery and potential disaster? It's not a comfortable thought, but it's a reality we must confront. This past summer, Europe experienced not just extreme weather conditions, but also economic extremities. The inflation rate, for instance, was alarmingly high, peaking at 5.3% in August, as compared to the same month in the previous year. This is a significant increase that has understandably caused a stir in the economic community. The growth outlook for Europe's economy is also a cause for concern. There's an increasing apprehension about the possibility of stagflation, a daunting economic scenario where inflation is high, the economic growth rate slows, and unemployment remains stubbornly high. This triple whammy can create a vortex of economic instability that's challenging to navigate. In the midst of these uncertainties, all eyes are on the upcoming European Central Bank, or ECB, meeting. The ECB's main objectives are clear: bring down inflation and set interest rates at sufficiently restrictive levels to dampen the inflationary pressures. However, it's a delicate balancing act. The risk of crashing the economy is ever present. One wrong move, and the tightrope walker could lose balance, plunging the economy into a deeper crisis. But it's not all doom and gloom. Despite these challenges, Europe managed to avoid recession due to monetary tightening and government support. However, as the global economy weakens and state support diminishes, a sense of unease is spreading across the continent. As we can see, the economic climate in Europe is, to say the least, turbulent. With the threat of stagflation looming, the path to stability seems fraught with challenges. Inflation, the invisible thief of your purchasing power, is a key player in this economic drama unfolding in Europe. This persistent economic phenomenon is a result of various factors, with the spike in energy costs playing a leading role. Energy, the lifeblood of any economy, has seen a significant surge in prices, and this has sent ripples throughout the European market. The core inflation, a measure that excludes the often volatile food and energy components, remains stubbornly high. This is a clear sign that the inflation problem runs deeper than just energy costs. It's a systemic issue embedded in the fabric of the European economy. To understand the gravity of the situation, let's draw parallels to the inflation trajectory in the United States. The US, a global economic powerhouse, has also been wrestling with inflation. High energy costs, supply chain disruptions, and increased consumer demand have all been contributors to the inflationary pressures in the States. Europe's inflation, following a similar path, signifies the global nature of this economic challenge. The question then arises, how can this inflation be managed? The European Central Bank, or the ECB, has set its sights on bringing down inflation and setting interest rates at sufficiently restrictive levels. However, this is a double-edged sword. On one hand, it could help curb inflation, but on the other, it risks crashing the economy. So, we find ourselves in the middle of an economic conundrum, a delicate balancing act. The task at hand for the ECB and the European nations is to navigate this economic tightrope with precision and caution. Inflation, once the genie is out of the bottle, can be a tough beast to tame. Europe is learning this the hard way. The ripples of economic uncertainty don't just affect the big numbers, they touch every sector, every industry, and every job. The service industry, for instance, experienced a contraction in August. As a sector that often serves as an economic bellwether, this contraction signals potential trouble ahead. The service industry is like the canary in the coal mine, its health reflecting the overall vitality of the economy. When it starts to falter, it's a sign that the wider economy could follow suit. Now let's pivot to the construction sector, a cornerstone of any economy. Higher interest rates are never a friend to construction. The cost of borrowing increases, making projects more expensive and potentially less profitable. In turn, this can lead to decreased demand for new construction projects. When the cranes stop moving, it's a sign that the economy is stalling. And here's where the rubber meets the road. We're expecting a hard landing. That's not a gentle slowdown or a soft recession. It's a sudden and severe economic downturn, a jarring halt to growth. The impact of this will be felt across all industries, from manufacturing to retail, from technology to tourism As for inflation, the elusive target of 2% set by the European Central Bank remains distant. Inflation is like the Goldilocks of economic indicators. You want it just right, too low, and you risk deflation and economic stagnation; too high, and you face skyrocketing prices and decreased purchasing power. Striking that balance is a tightrope walk, and right now, Europe is teetering. So, what does this all mean for industries? Well, uncertainty is the name of the game. Businesses will need to brace for potential impacts, adapting their strategies to weather the storm. They'll need to be nimble, flexible, and prepared for all eventualities. As the saying goes, when the economy sneezes, industries catch a cold. And right now, Europe seems to be gearing up for a major flu season. In an economic tug-of-war, two forces are pulling prices in different directions. On one side, we have the labor market, and on the other, weakening demand. Let's start with the labor market. It's showing signs of resilience, even amid economic uncertainties. Unemployment remains low, suggesting that businesses are still hiring and wages are on the rise. This could be seen as an indication of a robust economy. After all, when companies are hiring and wages are going up, it means there's money flowing in the economy, people have jobs, and they have money to spend. But here's the catch. On the other side of this tug-of-war, we have weakening demand. Despite low unemployment and rising wages, people aren't spending as much. This could be due to a variety of reasons. Perhaps they're saving more, or they're worried about the economic outlook and are cutting back on spending. Whatever the reason, this weakening demand could lead to falling inflation. Now, why is this important? Well, falling inflation could signal a slowdown in economic activity. And if demand continues to weaken, it could lead to a vicious cycle of falling prices and slowing economic growth. This is a scenario that no economy wants to find itself in. The European Central Bank, or ECB, is well aware of this. They're ready to increase their main rate, a move that could help keep inflation in check. But there's a risk involved. If they act too soon, it could tip the balance and lead to a crash. That's why some believe it might be better for the ECB to hold rates steady for now and assess the risk of a crash. While the labor market shows signs of strength, weakening demand is a clear indication of troubled waters ahead. The balancing act continues, and all eyes are on the ECB's next move.